It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. What a better place than to spend some of Uncle Sam's returned money than over at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. You can buy some tickets at discounted, or buy some races in bulk, and you get them at discounted rates, and then they stay on your account for up to 1 year. So buy them now, get yourself a little bit of a discount, and then you can go and race a couple of times every couple of weeks, and you can enjoy some of that tax money.
Save a race or two until the Homestead Party, so you can make sure and attend then.
Yeah, that'll be November 20th, I believe, is that Homestead Party.
Correct.
Now you're asking me to think ahead, and thinking right now is a bad idea. Speaking of right now, coming up in turn number 1, we're going to recap the results at Auto Club Speedway, and there's going to be an extended version that'll be found on the YouTube channel, the Joe's Karting YouTube channel, where we're going to break down a bunch of news and notes from the last week and a half, even 2 weeks, because we haven't had much time to do it lately. So that'll be coming up in turn number 1. In turn number 2, Joe Kosiski of I-80 Speedway will join us to preview the 2018 season, and then we turn around and we talk to Bob Harris of Adams County Speedway, another NASCAR track in the area that's going to be previewing the 2018 season. They got a lot of new things going on down at Adams County Speedway that you're going to want to enjoy starting this Sunday, this weekend, March 31st, weather permitting. They'll have their season opener. And then in turn number 4, we'll preview today's race at Martinsville. We'll talk about when the picks are due, and we'll get you more information coming up about Martinsville, some tips and tricks to get set for that. That's all coming up on today's show. Dirk, looking back on last Sunday's race at Auto Club Speedway, I think this is becoming one of my favorite tracks. It's definitely not disappointed the last couple of years. I think this was a little bit slower of a race than we've seen in the past because Martin Truex Jr. was just playing fast.
He was just playing fast, but I mean, let's go back to the start of the weekend with 13 cars not making it through qualifying. And I mean, the whole Hendricks organization didn't make through. But the funny part is nobody tried 3 times, so we didn't see a bunch of car chiefs having to sit down. Nobody, if they didn't try 3 times, they didn't try 4 times to have crew chiefs suspended. They were just all wanting to go ahead and run the race on the fresh tires. They didn't want to put 6 laps on their tires if they had to run 3 rounds of qualifying. Yeah. And then NASCAR jumped in and said, we see what you're doing here, and took the advantage away, and I think that was fantastic on NASCAR's part.
This is, people fight with me all the time. There was actually somebody that commented on Facebook, NASCAR needs to quit changing the rules. Buddy, this is the time that NASCAR is the best at changing rules. When they're able to look at a situation and say, no, these 13 guys have an advantage over the 21 guys that qualified, that
24.
attempted to qualify. Thank you for correcting my math there. For the 24 that attempted to qualify, we're going to rectify this situation. And in the coming weeks, I think we're going to see a new rule come out that's going to severely punish these guys. Now, they quickly changed the qualifying procedure for the Xfinity Series for that weekend at Auto Club Speedway, but they haven't formally announced anything. As of recording on Thursday afternoon, they haven't formally announced anything for the Cup Series permanently going forward.
Yeah, they're going to try something this weekend, but they're comparing apples to oranges. I mean, they're coming to Martinsville. The tech inspection is just so much different because it's a non-aero track. Aero does not matter. They could put any type of body they wanted on the car, basically at Martinsville, and it doesn't make any difference, where it does at California running 200-plus miles an hour. So we'll see how the things go this weekend. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, but let's see if they try it when Texas comes around in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Before we get into more news and notes, let's back up and cover some of the race results from Auto Club Speedway. Early on, I think it was 21 laps to go. Kevin Harvick was charging through the field after qualifying, I believe, 10th. And he was working on Kyle Larson, who had a little bit faster of a car. Excuse me, it was the other way around. Kevin had already gotten by him, and Kyle Larson was coming back around.
Lap 30.
And it looked like after Kevin kind of talked about it, made the situation clear, he was just trying to side draft a little bit off of Kyle and cut down his advantage to getting away from him and try to battle him going into the corner, and he just misjudged it.
Yep, he blew it, and he took ownership. At the end of the race, when they stuck Mike in his face, he said, that was my fault.
Yep.
I screwed up, and really it hurt hurt Kyle Larson a little bit, but I mean, Kyle still ran second, so it wasn't that big a deal.
And really, there wasn't that much damage to Kyle's car compared to, I mean, obviously what happened with Kevin's car. His car bounced off like a Super Ball on a wall off of Larson's car. I mean, it was like there was silly putty attached to the side of Larson's car.
And he came 2 foot or so from hitting the inside wall at a pretty good clip, which would have really, that would have finished him off. But, he soldiered on, and I'm not sure exactly where he ended up, 33rd, 34th, 35th?
35th, yeah.
But several laps down, but, he didn't just pull it in and say, well, I'm already in the chase, But he was at his home track out there in California, so he went ahead and did his best to stay out on the track, put a show on for his fans.
And by the way, if you're wondering why he decided to stay out, why not just come in, save the tires, save the equipment, save the money, come in? Because they did get a lot of media coverage. Every time he came in and got a pit stop, they said Kevin Harvick and the number 4 Busch Beer coming in and getting another, working on the car. They got more media exposure out of it, and so that sponsor got taken care of a little bit more.
Well, and that, like I said, is his home track.
Yeah.
So, he's still got a lot of friends and family and whatnot out in California. So he was, trying to make sure they got a little bit of their money for his ticket, after he'd screwed up. And you never know. Maybe the other 33 or 34 cars crashed out, and he still might have won.
Now, we're only 5 races in, but he is the worst of the playoff contender that finished outside of the top 20. Most of the guys you see outside of the top 20 are kind of your typical drivers that we see outside. There really wasn't much of a surprise when you look down the finish results for this sheet, other than, I'm going to say, Jimmy Johnson finishing 9th. What the heck? I mean, he's struggled all season long, but good job for him in that 48 car and Chad Knaus. They had a car that contended for a little bit there, but for the most part, it was a 9th place finish is a good change for them.
Yeah, I mean, they showed a little speed, which they literally have had none, the first couple races, so they were able to go ahead and at least be in the fray, so to speak. They weren't just an also-ran this week,
right.
And they were the lead Hendrick car, which has been tough for anybody to be a lead Hendrick car this year. They haven't had a lot of success, but maybe this will turn the corner.
Martin Truex Jr. gets the win, and he does it in fashion, winning stage 1, winning stage 2, and sweeping the weekend, getting himself 60 points on the day.
Looked like 2017.
Kyle Larson comes home in 2nd, Kyle Busch in 3rd, Brad Keselowski 4th, and Joey Logano with a good top 5 finish. Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, Jimmy Johnson, and Austin Dillon finish out your top 10.
All Penske cars in the top 10 again.
Yeah, great weekend for those guys. So that's how the weekend played out at Auto Club Speedway. I want to talk about a couple of the news and notes that have came out throughout the weekend, and we talked a little bit about it before, the pre-qualifying inspection deal. When 13 guys fail, you can look at one common scenario, and it was all Hendrick Motorsports drivers. It became more and more apparent that this was a tactic. They wanted to fail pre-qualifying inspection so that they didn't have to go out and run. And you probably heard Fox talk about it because I think they did a very good job of covering the situation. According to the NASCAR rules, which has been a rule for I think 2 years now, you must start the race on the tires that you qualify on. So these cars are sitting there saying, well, let's not go out there and qualify. We'll have 6 better lap tires, and we'll be able to blow right up through the field, and we'll be able to take advantage of those newer tires. And I think it was Kevin Harvick that raised probably the most fuss and just said, I went out there and laid it out the line for 3 rounds of qualifying, and I qualified 10th, and I'm going to get overtaken by these guys in no time because they've got fresher tires. And NASCAR took notice.
Yep, Kevin even said, to kind of start his, mistake weekend, he actually made a mistake in qualifying and got on one of those seams and, ended up, where he should have been, I think he was fastest in round 1 and maybe even in round 2.
Yes, he was.
But, he was going to start in the top 2 or 3. And like I said, he made a mistake, and, so he was starting 10th, but he was taking his time and working up through the field. I honestly think he had the only car by 30 laps he did get to run that could have given Martin Truex a race all day.
I agree with you. I think he did have I think he might have had a better car, but we never got to see it.
Exactly.
And so as a result of that pre-qualifying inspection issues for the 13 cars, NASCAR came out on Saturday and said, okay, we're going to allow all the teams that qualified to purchase an extra set of tires, and they're going to be able to start on those brand new tires. So they basically negated any advantage that the teams had. And then NASCAR came out and announced the Xfinity Series qualifying rule change. Any team that fails pre-qualifying inspection and does not make qualifying attempt will start in the back of the field and will be required to make a pass-through penalty while the rest of the field is taking the green flag. Had that been the rule in place, and I realize that I'm not knocking NASCAR for it not being the rule. I'm just saying apply that to what we saw on Sunday. That would have been detrimental for those 13 cars.
Yeah, I read the rule a little bit different, and so I thought they were going to have to take the green flag, go around one lap, and then have to slow down, because the pass-through penalty wouldn't be near as big if they got to take when everybody else was taking the green. They wouldn't lose near as much ground.
Okay.
And the tire rule for the Cup race actually happened Friday night, shortly after qualifying.
Okay.
So, but NASCAR just jumped on it. They didn't waste any time, and everything I read said it was well accepted in the garage, because you had 24 teams that it made happy.
Yeah, again, I can't say it enough. Kudos to NASCAR for doing that. I love the fact that they'll jump on a situation and they'll make a decision that will hopefully benefit, but they won't just sit back on a rule and say, well, we need to wait until the end of the season, or we need to think about it for a couple of weeks and allow these teams to abuse that situation, because just like you said, Texas is going to be the next time that we're going to find out if this is going to be a real problem that NASCAR has to take more action on.
Well, and I mean, that's what happened last year, the California race, and the next time they had the issue was Texas. Jimmy Johnson started in the back and won the race at Texas. So we'll see where they end up last year. I think Texas last year, I want to say there was like 11 cars didn't go through qualifying and make an attempt, or didn't get the tech to make qualifying attempt. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I don't think NASCAR is going to let that happen.
And we've seen it when those 13 didn't go through. They sat down and really started thinking about the way to remedy this, and it was a simple solution to a simple problem that was remedied pretty quick. But yeah, like you said, it'll be interesting to see what happens at Texas.
And if some of these teams would have bitten the bullet and gone through and got their third inspection in and lost a car chief for a couple races and whatnot, NASCAR wouldn't have done what they did.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying a third attempt. We know what's going on. We don't have to worry about this.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take care of it. And NASCAR, NASCAR's stance has always been, we want cars as equal as possible. We want the drivers to beat each other.
Yeah.
And their way of doing that was, they leveled the playing field and gave the guys that had, put the laps on their tires. And there were probably some of the guys back qualified, in that, 23rd, 24th spot, probably didn't spend the money and buy another set of tires.
Yeah.
They knew they were going to be in the back anyway, and their budget's a little bit less. So coming up $2,300, $2,500, whatever a set of tires costs these days, they probably went ahead and just saved money. But I'll guarantee you the top 12 or 15 cars all had the budget, and they all bought the extra set of tires.
Absolutely. And let's transition to Hendrick Motorsports has withdrawn its appeal of the number 9 team penalties that were levied against Chase Elliott at Phoenix. This is a tactic we've seen in the past.
They bought time.
The Auto Club Speedway race is incredibly aerodynamic. It's a very aerodynamic track. You want your A team on that box working that weekend. And so this was a tactic we've seen a couple of times, and we've seen Penske do it with Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe. They appealed, lost, appealed again. They bought himself enough time to where Paul was gone for 2 of the 3 races that weren't critical for a car chief to be there, or excuse me, for a crew chief to be there. They're buying time for it to be a less of an impact of a penalty.
But just with the fact they were on this West Coast swing, if the timing would have been a little bit different, they might not have done that. But now one of the races they're going to be sitting out, or the car chief is going to sit out for the 9 car, is Martinsville. And again, no aero package at all at that track. That's why you see him run without fenders and everything else during the race. Texas, it might make a little bit of a difference, but again, they're going to have a little bit of time to get somebody worked in there.
Right. And they've got time to work on that car and then move forward from there. So it was just a strategy. And personally, I hate this. I think that it lessens the severity of the penalty. If the penalty is you lose your car chief for 3 races, then the team shouldn't be able to pick when they get to lose their car chief. It's like saying, okay, kid, you're grounded now, but go ahead and pick the week that you want to be grounded. Where's the teeth in that penalty to me?
Your parents didn't do that?
Yeah. My whole life was grounded. I lived on the farm.
Well, anybody that can break a grain bin,
Moving on, we had some bad news coming out of Starcom Racing this week. On Monday, it was announced that Starcom Racing and Jeffrey Earnhardt had reached a mutual decision to part ways. you and I were talking about it, and I don't want to be overly critical of Jeffrey because he was a really nice guy when we talked to him, and I look forward to meeting him down in Kansas. But the fact that you've got a fully functional Chevrolet and you're not able to beat a torn up, beat up number 4 Kevin Harvick on the finish sheet says a lot. And that 00 team for Starcom Racing finished 11 laps down in 36th position.
Well, as I said, they don't quite have budget that the Harvick car had. So as I suggested when we were talking before we came on, that he might have been running full fuel runs, where everybody else was changing tires in 40 laps instead of 50 to 55 laps. And the time you're losing on the track in that 12 or 15 laps that he stayed out on the track, he lost a lap.
They may have been saving money on tires and not running a full set of tires. So instead of coming in when the tires were worn, they were staying out there and running a full fuel so they could save a set, maybe 2.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they might have even run 2 fuel runs on a set of tires somewhere during the race. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they did. Again, I wasn't there, so and we don't have access to that. But that's my guess. It was just a money-saving venture at that point.
Later that afternoon, it was announced that Iowa native Landon Castle will be coming on board to pilot the 00 for this weekend's race at Martinsville, and then 2 weeks from now at Texas when we get back from the Easter weekend break. So Landon Castle taking over that ride, and only for 2 races. We don't know what's going to happen for the following races, and quite frankly, we don't know who's going to be in the car at Kansas. But I sent out an email to all the Pick'ems contestants that were in that 5-week contest. Don't necessarily fret or think about who's going to be in that car, because it's not going to be the experience of who's going to be in that car racing it. It's more of the experience of you pushing around the pits. The experience is 99% of your being involved with the team and maybe 1% with the actual driver.
Well, and I mean, also, you're still going to get to, as we talked earlier, worst case scenario, you're going to get to meet Derek Cope.
Yep.
He's with the team, and worst case scenario, they don't have somebody to drive. You're going to see him in the driver's seat. The guy's won the Daytona 500, so he obviously knows what he's doing, and so you'll get that. And again, you're still going to have the weekend of your life being down in the garage. It's an
experience. It's a life. I think it's a life-changing experience.
And in this crazy sport, you never know. By Kansas, Earnhardt might be back in the seat.
Absolutely. It's going to come down to a sponsorship deal. I mean, let's face it. This is no elephant in the room. We've all addressed it 100 times. Sponsorship is incredibly critical to NASCAR teams right now. They just can't afford to spend I think the latest figure I saw was anywhere from $750,000 a race weekend to $2.5 million a race weekend for to everything included to go to a race weekend. And so they have to have something to offset that, or they're not going to be there at the end of the year when the budget runs dry.
Well, that's dividing everything they do back to shop and everything like that. Like, this team's not Hendrick. Hendrick Motorsports has over 400 employees. Yeah. I mean, huge complex.
But that's where the $750,000. I mean, it's a rough figure it's a moving number because they take an over the wall guy away. Well, that saved yourself probably $40,000 to $60,000, maybe even $100,000 a year on an over the wall guy.
Yeah. Well, last year, like when we talked to Mike Mettler at the Kansas race when we were doing our crewman for a day with his truck team, and Mike just looked at us and he said, "My budget for this race, and I'm just across the state, is only $40,000." And right next door was a Kyle Busch truck, and he goes, "They're into 6 figures."
Yeah. But sponsors are incredibly important. So if Jeffrey's able to come back, maybe if the VRX simulators is able to come back on board for another couple of races, things will change, and Jeffrey will be back in that car. But for the time being, it's going to be Landon Castle out of Iowa. We're going to try really hard to get Landon on next week, but we've got some packed shows the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get it done, but we're going to try to get the Iowa native to come on board and talk to us about that.
And we've had Landon on the show before, and I know we both had a good time talking to him. Very articulate. Go ahead and check out his Facebook page. He does a lot of NASCAR or a lot of Landon Castle live stuff, and I mean, he does it from anywhere. He'll do it at a short track. He'll do it walk through the airport. He'll do it in the garage. He does some neat stuff on there. He's very fan friendly, and I hope he's in the ride when we come to Kansas.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do too.
He'll be good for people to meet.
You want to talk about a nice laid back driver? You'll be able to have a simple conversation with Landon, and he'll give you simple answers back. He's not big time or celebrity. He's just a real even keel guy.
He's still got all the things going on. He's got a couple of kids.
Yep, father
married.
of 2, I believe.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, he had just had the second one when we talked to him for. So he was going through the staying up at night and feeding the kid stuff, and so I mean, he's a real down to earth guy. guy. He's a normal human being. He's not, walking around on the clouds and whatnot because he's won a couple championships, So, and a local Midwest guy. So he understands what the Midwest is all about.
A couple of other news and notes before we get to, let's see. NASCAR announced that they were going to be treating the surface for the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway for when we make our way there in, I believe that's going to be the October race, right? Because it'll be the racetrack coming in a couple of weeks, a few weeks from now, and then in fall that'll be when they're on the Roval.
So they're going to treat the Roval. They're not going to treat the Speedway.
It says NASCAR will treat the Charlotte Motor Speedway road course, which will debut during the playoffs.
Yep, that'll be in I think October, I believe.
Daniel Hemrick set to make his NASCAR Cup Series debut at Richmond Raceway, and he will be piloting the iconic number 8 Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 at Charlotte Motor Speedway Road Course on September 30th.
I even saw a Ford fan liking that on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, Jim. So that was a little bit confusing. He's going to make his debut at Richmond, but then the car will also be on the road course at Charlotte September 30th for that race too. So at least 2 races in that deal.
My guess is he's probably going to run 4 or 5. I think you can run up to 7 and keep your rookie status. But the fact that they're going to give him a few starts on the Cup side does mean they're looking at him to move him up.
Good deal for that. Charlotte Motor Speedway is going to be hosting a Goodyear tire test for the Roval at the to get in preparation for the September 30th, and that actually happened this Wednesday and Thursday. Kyle Larson, Paul Menard, Trevor Bain, and Kyle Busch were a part of that test. So we'll get you those results maybe if they come up later on in the next couple of months. Then good news for NASCAR. Well, not necessarily yet good news, but insider sources are saying that Monster Energy is close to renewing with NASCAR. That's all that has been said so far. They've had extension after extension, reevaluating the situation, and like NASCAR said, it's a very complex situation. You would think it'd be as easy as throwing your logo on top of our sport, but learning how to work with the fans, the teams, the media sponsors to really activate that sponsorship, and that's kind of a really simple word for a very complex thing. For instance, Sprint, when they were the sponsor, they learned how to activate it by having the Sprint in-car or the Sprint video that you could rent, and they would give discounts to Sprint fans. They would give free Wi-Fi to Sprint, not fans, but free to Sprint customers. Sprint really took good advantage of how to activate that sponsorship and find the returns in that investment. And I think Monster's starting to get to that point where they're going to start to. They've been with it for about a year and a half now, and now they're starting to learn how to activate that.
Well, and it's just they sponsor so many things. They've got the motocross stuff and everything that they work with, and NASCAR is just a little bit different animal than some of that stuff, and so just tweaking and everything, their marketing strategy and everything, if they sign on for the 3rd year, I really wouldn't be surprised if they sign up for another hitch altogether.
I
another
agree.
3-year package.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So nothing confirmed yet, but sources are saying that Monster Energy is close to renewing with NASCAR. Hopefully we'll have an announcement maybe over the holiday, the Easter weekend break. All right, that's going to do it for us in turn number 1.
No.
What did I miss?
We got to talk about Carl.
Oh, I didn't even write that story down.
And
sorry.
It was out there today that Carl says, that he's not going to come back racing, but I still think he is because, he keeps talking about the fact, and they keep beating on him a little bit about getting into politics. Mm-hmm. And I think if he does go into politics, whether he becomes the governor of Kansas, a senator, a congressman, or whatever, he's going to jump behind the wheel, be the first acting politician to run in a cup race.
You and your theories. When I saw that news story come across, I shook my head and I said, "Oh, poor Dirk." Oh, poor Dirk. And then I posted it, and sure enough, you came back with this next theory, and I thought, well, how didn't I see this coming? How did I not see this coming? Yeah. But Carl Edwards did talk to Claire B. Lang on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, and just said that he has no ambitions to return to racing right now. He's really enjoying being a family man, being a farmer, and doing this stuff. And while he all but completely ruled out returning to racing, he didn't rule out a venture into the political arena, and because he thinks that he can make some difference. And if he can, please try. We would love to see some difference being made in this world.
I don't think he was going to tell the truth to Claire anyway, so, you know.
Well, I mean, if he's talking about being a politician, he might as well start lying now.
There you go.
But you know what? He's been doing that all that time. I mean,
for the last year and a half.
Oh, no, if you're a driver, you learn the art of the lie. It's the throttle stuck, the brakes broke, you moved down into me, you know.
Well, it's not necessarily a lie, but it's definitely a stretch of the truth.
Maybe convincing yourself of the truth, of the alternate truth. So Carl Edwards says he's not going to be returning anytime soon. Dirk is still holding his breath. We'll see how that goes in a year or two or three.
I just love it when I can say I told you so.
You do.
I might have to wait a while. Hope I'm alive to see it.
We all do. All right, now we're going to take a break. Are we good now? We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. Joe Kosiski of I-80 Speedway will join us. Bob Harris of Adams County Speedway just around the corner in turn number 3. And then turn number 4, we'll preview today's race in Martinsville. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This week's Young Gun is 18-year-old Brianna Fanstill, who's about to start her 8th season as a dirt track driver. Ever since she was a little girl, Brianna wanted to be a dirt track driver and an inspiration to anyone that's been held back because of their disability or gender. Brianna got her start racing the 33B black and yellow flat cart, earning her the nickname of Bumblebee. After 5 years in the karting ranks, Brianna purchased a sport mod and won Rookie of the Year honors at I-80 Speedway in 2016. With the support of her amazing fans, friends, and family, Brianna plans to compete weekly at I-80 Speedway, and she's excited to hit a few new tracks this season. Her goal is to continue to grow as a driver and as a team, but most of all, she wants to keep having fun. Keep your eye out for the 33B, Twisted Dirt Custom Dirt Track Headers, Mr. Yards and more, the Auto Connection, Friendship Home of Lincoln Sport Mod driven by this week's Young Gun, Brianna Bumblebee Fanstill. Thanks to Craig Kelly of Sarah Kelly & Sewell Personal Injury Attorneys for supporting this week's Young Gun.
For almost 70 years, Sarah Kelly Sewell have been Nebraska's premier personal injury firm. Race drivers, fans, and their families have been calling Sunset Speedway's Craig Kelly for over 30 years. The IKS firm focuses first on your healing and appropriate medical care, then they focus on getting you great results. Craig Kelly and his experienced team at IKS stand ready to handle your injury claims in both Nebraska and Iowa. If you or a loved one have been injured, Google Craig Kelly or call him at 402-391-4000.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 2, and it's time to talk to Joe Kosiski, owner and promoter for I-80 Speedway over in Greenwood. Joe, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine. How you doing?
Love it. Do appreciate you taking the time out of your day. As always, you guys have a busy schedule. I think the number comes out to be about 30 or 31 total races in the 2018 season.
That probably sounds about right.
We'll see how Mother Nature cooperates with that. Hopefully she's nice and we get all 30, 31, maybe even throw in a couple extra races. We get 32 or 33 in there, but we'll see how that goes. Season's going to be... Go ahead.
I got a goal for you. You ought to just cut it at 30 races and buy a 30-pack Busch Light and have one beer at the end of each race.
That's about what I have. It's about a beer a night.
Why just one beer?
Because he's not you.
Oh, good point.
Because I have to drive home when I'm done.
I got a pillow and a blanket in the back of my truck just in case I have too many Busch Lights with that Bridge Brigade back on the backstretch after the races are over with. Looks like season kicks off for you guys in just about a week and a half with the spring meltdown. Carpenter Lane, Nebraska 360's coming. The Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series kicks off their schedule too.
Yeah, we got a great schedule to kick off the season there with them Nebraska 360s and Malvern Bank Super Late Models. One night we have compacts with them. One night we have hobby stocks with them. So we're being early in the spring. We're trying to have the program early enough that people can come out and enjoy them 2 great classes.
Anthony, we're trying to remember this when we were talking about it a week and a half ago. We'll play Anthony's interview for the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series season preview next weekend. But we were trying to remember if the Malvern Bank was on the schedule with the Spring Meltdown last year.
No, it was MLRA.
Okay,
and MLRA didn't want to schedule this year. And with the growing success of the Malvern Bank Super Late Models, we've got probably just as well off what we've done here. The way that we're setting it up on the Friday night qualifying night, we're going to have AA features on Friday night for them. Everybody will run in a feature. Half the guys will be. We kind of mocked it off of the Daytona type deal.
The duels.
The duels.
Okay.
And so everybody will be in one, and then Saturday night, top 6 will be automatically qualified, and we'll go back and finish some heats and run the feature on Saturday night.
Come back the next weekend for the Bug Eater Bash, your modified sport mods, brag and right late model, stock cars, and that is a rain date in case the Spring Meltdown has any kind of weather issues.
Right.
Take the weekend off, and then you come back to kick off NASCAR weekly racing action. Same classes as we've seen for the last couple of years?
NASCAR weekly action, yes, it'll be the same classes we've seen in the past year with, the super late models, bragging rights late models, A mods, B mods. Some of the classes are off on certain nights, so it's not everybody's there every night. There's 7 classes to get points throughout the season, including this year the 6 nights of the Nebraska 360s have got a $7,000 point fund for the Nebraska 360s. So they'll be up and running every night that they're there. They're going to be running for the points as hard as they can because it pays like $2,500 to win the points 3 nights.
Yeah, Stan and I were talking about that a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We talked to Stan about previewing that schedule, and those races got a special bonus for all the drivers that come and compete in it. It's its own little point system within the Nebraska 360 point standings. Bobby Parker Memorial is going to be the second time the Nebraska 360s come on Friday, the May 4th. Great special for Dennis Parker to honor his dad, Bobby Parker.
Absolutely, and his dad was really a great racer in the area back in the day, and a lot of people will remember him. A lot of them don't, but the older people know how good he really was. And with Dennis being the head guy of the Nebraska 360s, I think it all falls into place. And Dennis actually goes out and gets some money. That race pays $2,500 to win this year also. So Dennis goes out and gets a few people that'll add money to that race.
NASCAR weekly racing action for 2 weeks in May, and then we get our first sample of the Lucas Oil Late Model Series Sunday night, May 20th for the Go 50.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that one coming this year. Being on a Sunday night. Last year it was on a Tuesday night. We had a little bit of rain to go with it, but we still put it on. This year it's a Sunday night, and it'll be just with the modifieds around the area. So I think it'll be a great night of racing. Should get over quick.
A modifieds?
A modifieds, yes.
Well, I know Bobby Pierce, now that he's with Lucas Oil, the locals will get a chance to see him if you haven't seen him. He's a treat to watch. And I know we talked to Gordy Gundaker, and he's going to be trying to get up here to run that show too.
Good.
A lot of great guys racing that series now. Do we know if what Scott Bloomquist has decided for the Lucas Oil? Is because he said some crazy things about going World of Outlaw racing.
Well, something you got to remember that I think about the whole thing. Most of the Lucas Oil races pay $12,000 to win this year, not 10. The World Outlaw races, most of them are still paying 10. Where do you think Scott Bloomquist will more than likely be?
Yeah,
he likes the track, so whether he goes to World Outlaws, if they're off that weekend, he's still probably going to be here.
Yeah, well, he definitely told me he would be at the Silver Dollar Nationals no matter what happens. The Go 50, it depends on if he did go with the World Outlaws where they was at.
I did some rough Iowa math, and I think that you guys have paid him somewhere around the area of $130,000 or $150,000 since the Silver Dollar Nationals started.
That probably sounds right.
Well, since the Lucas Oil Late Model started coming, because he also won the $10,000 for the Go 50 a year or two ago.
Yep.
So then the next weekend, best race on the schedule. Have I ever told you I like this race?
You've told me that a few times.
Maybe a couple of times. Charlotte Clark Memorial featuring the Don Moore Tribute Race, modified sport mods and stock cars. Sunday, May 27th, kick off your Memorial Day weekend. I love this race.
I'll tell you what, when you put them modifieds out there and they race a 22-lap feature and you invert everybody that's left on the lead lap and they go at it again for 22 more laps and it's $2,200 to win each one, them dudes are after it. Then you take what do we have, a 2-minute and 22-second pit stop, I think it is, and they can do anything they want. You're watching guys try to change springs and doing stuff in 2 minutes and 22 seconds. They get caught with that they have to go to the back because they're not ready to be going back onto the racetrack at the same time, so it's neat.
2 minutes and 22 seconds is an eternity, but there's still 2 or 3 guys that don't get their work done in time, and they get penalized.
And this year with Don Moore passing away, we felt that it would be a great night, put a tribute out to him also. It's not going to be the Don Moore Memorial, but it'll be a tribute to Don for that class. We're going to do a couple neat things, maybe start the feature. You never know what I'll do, but we might just start the feature with one guy on the front row outside, nobody on the inside front row to take the start of the feature off. And it's going to be $2,400 for a salute to his number for that night. And I think it's going to draw the best stock cars around to be here.
Yeah.
There's also another salute going on. Tracy Weber's done his car up like Don's car and switched his number over to 24 and everything. It really looks good.
It looked real nice. I seen that. And he's running with the B mod, so I'm glad to have Tracy, bring it out and race. And I know he'll be here this night running in the Sport Mod Vision.
I know that there's been a couple of guys that have changed over their paint scheme since Don passed away to pay tribute to Don for the season. So that'll be really a tough race to watch, but one of my favorites. And like you said, my absolute favorite part of that race, I think we got the best formula last year where we got a really, really mad Jordan Grabowski for that second stage. And he had to come from, I think, 21st or 20th to starting to his outside was the guy that stole the win. The first stage went away from him on the last corner of the last lap. Justin Kay stole that race away, and Jordan was a little upset, and he blew through the field like they were all standing still.
Justin told me, he says, that's one race I'm hoping I don't have to miss this year. He said, I'm going to put it on my schedule. He's got a couple of point things he races for, but he said of anything he wants to do, he wants to try to be here for the modified show with Go 50 and the race for the Charlie Clark.
After that race gets you into June, NASCAR Weekly Racing on the 1st of June. Then the next week later, we have the I-80 Dirt Classic featuring the USAC wingless 410s in the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series.
That's going to be a great night of racing. Last year, that race come down to the last lap. We had 3 passes for the lead before the checkered flag, and the guys went away. They said it was one of the best races that they had been able to race in, and exciting, and that's all we really hope for is we have the same thing this year.
Coming up on Saturday, June 23rd, you've got the Ultimate Demo Derby. Have you guys completely fished out how this is going to work?
We were going to run, I believe it's 3 classes. We're having a series people running it here in Nebraska. I don't remember exactly their name. I can get more detailed into that later on, but it's going to pay, I want to say all 3 classes are going to pay $1,000 to $2,000 to win. So it should be, what she's telling me is that's a great pay compared to most fairgrounds and things like that with the 3 classes we're running.
So where are you going to hold it?
Right on the front stretch.
Right on the front stretch.
Right on the front stretch. I know it's a big, wide front stretch, but
right on our radio show. Right on the front stretch.
And we're going to do something a little different. I think they call it a Hot Wheels Demo Derby.
Yeah.
Is going to happen up on the concourse for the kids. They're going to bring their Hot Wheels, their little, and what they do is they don't make them wreck until they fall out. They put a balloon on the front and the back.
Yeah.
And you have to try to pop balloon to the other guy. That's how you get knocked out of the Hot Wheel Demo Derby.
And you're not talking like a micro machine.
No, I'm talking about the Hot
about
Wheels, the kids.
Battery powered.
Yeah, the little battery powered thing, the plastic cars that they have. Yeah, they're gonna have a demo derby on the same night, and we're gonna make that thing so fan friendly. I believe, if I recall right, for the fan to get in is going to be $5 for an adult and $3 for a kid or something like that. So it's going to be well worth the money to be able to be there.
And concessions will be open, correct?
Oh,
absolutely. There'll be plenty of adult beverages to be consumed during a demo.
Absolutely.
That's Saturday, June 23rd for the Ultimate Demo Derby. Then you've got a couple of nights of the NASCAR Weekly Racing action, and then your favorite 3 days of the year. Am I stretching it to say it's your favorite 3 days of the year? Because it's a tough 3 days for you. But
that 3 days, it beats on you like a whole season did in 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, as a promoter, and people don't understand how much there really is, because by the time we have the band at nighttime and everything that we do to make this thing work, you end up going till about 3 in the morning, and you're trying to be back at 8 to be grading and be getting everything ready. But Silver Dollar Nationals, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'd try to work the whole 36 hours, or if that's what it took, straight through.
Well,
it seems like you do.
Mother Nature's finally decided that there's always the warmest 3 days of the summer. I noticed that the last couple of years.
Yeah, we have had that the last couple of years, but I've been really talking to her a lot. about cooling it down.
We can't repeat what you've said to her to motivate her.
That last 2 years, it might not have been nice, but I really made up to her over the winter.
Yeah. And then, so it kicks off Thursday, July 19th with the night number 1 of the Silver Dollar Nationals featuring the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series, the Nebraska 360s, and then have you figured the final class to that yet?
It'll be one of the 2 modified classes. I don't know exactly which one will be one of the 2 modifieds.
So that Malvern Bank Super Late Model race, and I believe, does that get them into what am I thinking of? What's the word I'm thinking of?
Like a provisional, no.
Thank you.
That race pays $5,300 to win,
That's right. And it's $53,000 to win for the Saturday night Lucas Oil feature, right?
$53,000 for Saturday night, yes.
So then we come back on Friday night, Silver Dollar Nationals, night number 1, or the night number 2, featuring the Lucas Oil Late Model and the MLRA, also the USMTS Modifieds joining the house.
This year, MLRA is not involved into the Silver Dollar Nationals. It's just going to be Lucas Oil. And the USMTS this year on Friday night, we're going to run the double features such as I explained earlier in the year, where it's going to be like the duels.
Okay.
We're going to run that for the USMTS cars on Friday night, so everybody gets to see features on Friday night, not 1-2 that way.
Can we go down and put our money on Rodney Sanders? Just go down to the casino, throw $100 on Rodney Sanders, and just hope they pay out.
Well, if the casinos has got sports book, and I'm all in.
I don't think Rodney Sanders is going to do it this year.
Since when?
Oh, wait till you see some of the locals that are going to be trying to race this race. You never know.
That's true. The local AMOD class is really getting strong.
They're getting real strong. In fact, I was looking today, and on our NASCAR Weekly Racing Series where we sell the front stretch parking, we've got 12 AMODs on the front stretch this year. So I'm looking, and I'm looking at the names of it. I mean, Shane Hyatt has told us he's going to race at I-80 this year, and he actually bought a spot on the front stretch. So we got Anthony Roth and Shane Hyatt added to the mix of the guys we've had in the past with Justin Gregg and Travis Hatcher, and it's
Ryan Jenkins and Jacob Hobscheit making their way into it.
You got the Hobscheit, Jenkins, Bill Flagg went to AMODs this year.
Wow.
So we're going to see quite a field of AMODs.
So then the Saturday night of the Silver Dollar Nationals, it'll be the last chance qualifiers and the 80-lap feature for $53,000 to win.
It'll be the last chance qualifiers, belt bash for the guys who don't qualify, and remember that's always exciting because if you finish first, second, or third, I give you the opportunity to drop your money and start it back. And last year, Brandon Shepard started last in the feature, gave up what he was kind of worried because if I remember right, it's $2,500 or $3,000, and he gave it up for a spot that only pays $1,500 to start. And here he comes from the back and got to second and made $20,000. And after the race, he said, "Ha ha, I made the right decision."
He said, I made the right decision. There's been plenty of guys that have given up the money and ended up taking home less.
Absolutely.
Which one of the races has the guys dropping out? Which one of those races on Silver Dollars where like the last 3 guys after 5 laps get dropped off and then you move on and then 5 more laps?
That was the Thursday Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series race.
No, it was a Friday or Saturday show because I didn't make Thursday, but I was there Friday or Saturday. And Jesse Stovall ended up winning the race.
It's been a few years since they did that. Maybe that was the way the Belt Bash was done before.
No, I think that I was thinking, I guess I don't remember. I was thinking we'd done something with Charlie Clark that the last 3 or 4. We start 28 mods at the beginning of that one, and it goes down to 24. I don't have all this lined up in my brain to remember every race that we do.
Yeah. You got the season ahead of you, but we forget about trying to remember 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
I have a tough time remembering last year.
It was during the Silver Dollar Nationals, and it ran kind of like a chase format where they drop off so many.
Oh, yeah. We've done that about 3 years ago. You're exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. Are we doing that again this year?
No, that will not be done this year.
Okay.
So the Silver Dollar Nationals, July 19th, 20th, and 21st, 3-day passes available, individual race tickets available, also i80speedway.com. NASCAR Weekly Racing action for the next 2 weeks gets us into August, and then we've got actually the next couple of weeks for then we come up on the August 24th Speedy Bill Smith Memorial, featuring the second to last time the Nebraska 360s will be there.
Speedy Bill Memorial, all the classes or most of the classes that run that night pay at least $1,000 to win. So when you get the stock cars racing for $1,000, the sport mods racing for $1,000, the modifieds racing for $1,000, the Nebraska 360s race for $1,000, it ends up being the last couple of years we've had about 160 car count that night.
Yeah,
and we've really had some great racing.
Oh yeah,
and
Speedway's always there with a great representation from all their employees and parts and sponsorships and contingencies. Great stuff going on. going on for
They
the
give
Speedy
everybody that enters the race a $50 gift certificate for being there to race, so it's really a neat deal.
All-Star Championship Sunday on September 2nd. You're going to crown 7 champions that night, plus the Good Old Time Racing Association will be there on hand.
That night, we don't run heat races for everybody. We run a qualifying race for like the top 8 in points. So that's done, and then we run the rest of the classes, and we end up usually with a real good car count that night, and it ends up being a lot of fun. And the next day off, nobody's in a hurry to leave. Pits stay full all night long, it seems like.
Absolutely, and I've stumbled out of there many a times on Monday morning and had a tough time getting to Monday morning services at the cemetery.
Yeah, but that's when you left Friday night.
Then you take a couple of weeks off. You come back for the Midwest Fall Brawl, Nebraska 360 Sprint Cars, and the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series. Is that championship weekend for Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series?
That is championship night for Malvern Bank Super Late Models, and I think it's championship night for the Midwest, for the Nebraska 360s, I believe.
I think you're right.
I know it's the end of our 6-race point night for the Nebraska 360s with Nichols Construction that's helped out with that $7,000 point fund.
October 11th, 12th, and 13th. The Thursday, the 11th, is going to be the Speedway Motors Cornhusker Classic Practice. And then you've got your Friday and Saturday night, 2-night event. Always a big night. Modified sport mods, brag and right late models, stock cars, hobby stocks, and compacts for Friday and Saturday night. And that's talk about a prestigious event. I mean, that's a lot of guys want to end the season with a big win at the Cornhusker Classic.
Well, the Modifieds pays, I believe it's $6,000 to win that night. And we end up with some of the best Modifieds last year. Taylor won out of Arkansas, come up and won that race. So we see a lot of great cars, a lot of great racing going on there, and I'm hoping to get the same this year. Also, we didn't really talk about Bug Eater, but Bug Eater up there at the beginning of the year, the Modifieds pay $1,000 to win and $3,000 to win on Saturday night, so that's going to be a good race this year also. With the Modifieds, the Sport Mods have an increased purse, and so does the Bragging Rights, and the other 2 classes, Nebraska 360s and Malvern Bank will both be in there. Stock cars pay quite a bit that night also. They might be $1,000 win.
i80speedway.com. You can get single race event tickets, or you can call the main office and get the weekend passes. Just give Lee a call, and he'll get you all set up with all that information. You can purchase your tickets for race weekends or single race tickets, and they're available now. NASCAR Weekly Racing. Anything else? Did we forget anything?
I don't think we forgot anything. I think that we got most people in. I think we got a great schedule.
Yeah.
You get to see a little bit of everything, and come out to I-80, you never know what you're going to see.
Well, I know one thing that you've got down that you kind of skipped over was the off week for Knoxville. I think that's really neat. So if anybody wants to go over and watch the Knoxville Nationals there in August.
During the August 16th or August 10th. August 10th, we're off that weekend. So guys that want to go to Knoxville, it's also the same weekend as the North-South shootout for the Lucas Oil Cars pays $50,000 over in Kentucky. So it gives the guys some time. Also, it's right before school starts, so the drivers that race every week and are burnt out have got the opportunity to go take a vacation before their kids hit school the next week, and Mom likes that a little bit.
I also missed the Kenny Wallace driving experience on Thursday, June 21st at I-80 Speedway. You can get more information on that on the I-80 Speedway website. Just go under schedules and special events. That Kenny Wallace driving experience, is that the second? This will be the second year, or have you done it more than that?
Kenny Wallace has now been there. This will be its 3rd year.
Okay, because I talked to Andrew, who went out there and drove, and he said it was just hectic. I mean, it was no slowing down, no stopping from I think he got there at about noon when the track was finally ready, because we had some moisture that morning and that night before, and then they raced till about 10 o'clock that night turning laps.
Well, this year I think they're starting a little later in the day, and they're gonna practice into the night because they've got so many people that come from outside businesses that want to come and have the driving experience or ride with them, the ride along, and usually it's sold out. So if you're serious about coming, you want to make sure you get your money paid and get your ticket be well in advance for that.
You can Google Kenny Wallace driving experience or just go to i80speedway.com, look under the schedule and the special events, and you can find it about halfway down. Thursday, June 21st. And then again, like I said, all the tickets are available at i80speedway.com. Joe, good luck this season. Can't wait to see you out in a couple of weeks.
Not a problem. We'll be seeing you. Thank you.
We'll be back here on the front stretch.
This May, experience the suspense as heroes clash metal to metal with heartbreak. Get lost in a drama without the predictable ending. No sappy romance, no special effects. Just one adrenaline-filled night where pure speed drives the plot. Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series night race, only at Kansas Speedway May 12th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 3, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the September 11th and 12th night races featuring the Camping World Truck Series on Friday night and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series on Saturday night. They're available now. Just call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com. Online, you can pick exactly what ticket you want, but if you call the phone number, you get to talk to somebody in person. It's not some automated line. And they speak English.
And we're talking bowling 400, right? The Go Bowling 400?
They don't have an entitlement sponsor yet, at least not what I've seen so far. So we'll see if that gets announced in the next week to 2.
Back.
I know, so do I. We were all excited about that, but we're not going to be able to get that. Instead, maybe we can go down and get SpongeBob at Adams County Speedway.
Oh.
Or maybe we could just dress Dirk up as SpongeBob.
No, dress me up like a cat. I want the adopt a cat 1000 or something.
Bob Harris, announcer down at Adams County Speedway, joining us now to get us set for the 2018 season. And you guys have had quite the busy off season, Bob.
Yeah, we sure have, guys. I mean, as soon as we threw the checkered flag in September of last year, we all got together as a promotion committee and said we are going to make a statement in 2018 at ACS. And we have been busy. We've got a lot of things happening. We're going to start things off next weekend with our first annual Crack a Cold One stock car class brought to you by Busch Light, and they came on board, and it's just going to be an early special, kind of a bookends to our season. We'll have the Crack the Cold One, and then obviously the 21st annual tradition at the end of the season. But $1,500 to win modified, $1,000 stock car. And we're just hoping for Mother Nature to get it in for next weekend.
Yeah, you had me sold at Crack a Cold One, and I think you're going to have a lot of race fans sold with that one.
Yeah, we're bringing Busch Light back to the Speedway. We're still going to have Miller products as well, so a lot of fans will be excited about that. And just kind of a neat marketing thought between the Busch Light and the Doll Boys over there in Council Bluffs to why not bring in the spring and crack that cold and get it behind us and just get the racing season started off with a nice little special.
Can we play on their advertising campaign just a little bit, and in between races, everyone open a Busch at the same time and
see how long it lasts?
Yeah, exactly. Busch, yeah, I'm sure we might, as announcers, might, tag that, or we might even go dilly-dilly. Who knows?
There you go.
Yeah. Well, Busch jumped back in a big way this year, even with Cup, sponsoring the Pole Award this year. So they jumped back in.
Yeah, they really were excited about coming back Speedway. They took a little hiatus from the Speedway, and they're excited. I mean, we're going to have a lot of signage, and they're going to also be a presenting sponsor to our Salute to Serve, which is a military appreciation and first responder night back in June, where we're going to actually present the American flag from the sky. We're going to have sky jumpers invade the Adams County Speedway and present the good old glory to us. That'll be exciting.
And before we get down to hammering down some of the special nights, let's talk about some of the improvement you guys have been working on in the offseason. I mean, you've got, 6, 7 bullet points here of new things that fans are going to be able to experience when they come down to Adams County Speedway.
Well, obviously, from my old Sunset days and the I-80 Speedway days when I was over in Nebraska and now moving to Iowa, it was really crucial, I thought, to really stimulate the younger fans and the fans before the race. The races are great. We're hardcore racers. We love the door banging and the horsepower and the noise, but I think the racing in general has changed a little bit. If you take what the Cup level is doing about the fan zones, well, we're creating a fan zone. We're going to change the entrance to our speedway. Sukup grain bins are going to donate 2 18-foot grain bins, so you're actually going to walk through a grain bin into the speedway, and our new pit shack will also be a grain bin for the drivers to get in the pit area. So obviously we live in a farming area and farming culture, so we're going to tap into that with our sponsors, as you will see through our schedule. Like I mentioned, the fan zone is going to be 110-foot by 40-foot concrete pad, and it's going to encompass the new Adams County Speedway Hall of Fame and Museum. It's a 14 by 44 building that'll have the over 66 years of history from the Adams County Speedway displayed, and all those great racers from back in the day. Like you have your segment, The Legends of Racing, they're going to start being showcased at the Adams County Speedway for the fans to come and see all that history that has been laying in somebody's closet or some garage somewhere that nobody gets to see, where we're going to start showcasing that at the Speedway. So that's going to be really exciting. We're also going to create a tire changing simulator, the bounce house for the kids. They're going to come, and so they can be wore out before the races start, so the parents can built-in see a babysitter a little bit. We're going to have the tire changing. We've got a 30 by 35 pavilion that's going to host some small bands before the races. We're also going to do a corporate hospitality there. And then the exciting thing is we're going to create a 20-person VIP suite. It's 10 by 44 building that's going to go back on top of the grandstand. So just from a construction standpoint, we're really going to change the face of the Adams County Speedway and kind of modernize it and really bring it to one of the facilities that's been throughout the years, one of the great facilities throughout racing in general.
That's fantastic. I'm looking at a couple of these things, and I know that next time I get down to Adams County Speedway, I'm going to get down and dirty with that tire-changing simulator.
Oh, yeah.
You'll break it.
No, I'll break the grain bin entrance. That's what I'll break.
Well, we do have an adult version, and then we also have a kid version. So we'll see which one you can. Maybe you can beat a fifth grader or something on the kids side of it.
Are you faster than a fifth grader?
There you go. That'll be a hashtag ACS. Are you faster than a fifth grader? And so we're going to do some selfie boards. Obviously, social media is big. We want the fans to be interactive with the drivers. We're going to have a car show there. So just some fun things for the drivers and fans to interact, because everybody as a fan, and we are fans ourselves, we want to sit in the grandstand and we want to know what our favorite drivers does. And as announcers, we try to bring that information and put those fans behind the wheel of a car, that they don't sometimes obviously get to do. So it's just we're trying to make it more interactive for the fans.
NASCAR Weekly Racing sanctioning continues for the 2018 season, featuring your what classes for you guys?
So we'll have 6 classes. We'll have 5 of them full-time, and that'll be your Poet Biofiring Modifieds, your Chatmobility Hobby Stocks, your Northland Oil Stock Cars, your Tri-State Ford Compacts, as well as your Stalker B-Mods. And then kind of a unique twist this year, which I'm really excited about, to really a lot of the area tracks like Shelby County Speedway, I-80 Speedway, we got together and we formulated a plan that 8 weekly nights will be run at the Adams County Speedway, opposite of 7 nights at the Shelby County Speedway. So instead of racing on top of each other, we have worked together with Doug Batts and Gary Hopp up there to align ourselves that our guys can go race there and they can come down to race with us. I think there's only a couple races that will still be in conflict with the SMLR series. So next year, I'm really excited about next year because we can all get together. We kind of got late in the game to do that. But so now a guy from, an Alan Hopp could win the Shelby County Speedway and win the Adams County Speedway and possibly the Gales Gold Rush deal and take home $10,000.
Wow.
That's serious cash for late model guys.
That is a good chunk of change.
So kudos to Joe Kosiski and also Doug Batts and Gary Hopp up there, and of course the Adams County Speedway Fair and Racing Association that got together to really sustain weekly late model racing. Obviously, Joe does a great job, and with Jay Burdick on board with the SMLR series, but now we're really going to start building some of those young, talented, modified or B-Mod guys and get them in those late models that can sustain our passion, our love of back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, that track cooperation is really what's going to help in that area. There's some really good late model drivers, and hopefully in the next 5 years there'll be a lot more of them. But for the time being, it's great to hear you guys working together to make sure you're not overtasking the drivers.
Yeah, there's still, it's with the Gales Gold Rush, it's still about 40 40 nights, but as Dirk would know back in the day, I mean, 60 nights was kind of the norm back in the day when you'd run 3 tracks at a time. So giving a guy to run 8 nights to win, try to win $5,500 from the Adams County Speedway and be an Iowa State champion, 8 nights to do that, that's some pretty good cash for those guys in a crown. And then, of course, Shelby County Speedway has 7. You encompass that with the I-80 Speedway and then also the SMLR Series. Dre Hempel and Greg and John and Jen really kind of spearheaded that, and we were glad to be a part of that for the second year. And I think big things are going to happen. Obviously, everything kind of happens in threes. You got to do things 3 years in a row to really get traction. We're year number 2. It's going to grow. Everybody got paid, and the money's there again. So it's exciting for that.
Yeah, 8 nights for that track championship. That ought to create some very stiff competition.
Yeah, and no wiggle room. You got to be on your game for 8 nights. I mean, if you don't get a mulligan like we used to do in a 24-race season, you better bring your A game because there's some fast hombres. It's going to be exciting each and every night that they're there at the Speedway.
Talking with Bob Harris, announcer at Adams County Speedway over in Adams County, Carroll, Iowa. Again, we talked over in Corning, Iowa. Thank you. And March 31st is your kickoff to the 2018 season, weather pending. The Hawkeye Crack a Cold One, sponsored by Busch. And then the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series makes its return June 16th and August 18th.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Obviously, Crop Productions Services came in on board on the 16th, along with Malvern Bank and what Jay does for racing and what he does for Adams County Speedway. Definitely tip the hat to him. The Ray Houck Memorial will be on the 18th, which is Ray Houck was a former promoter there, so we're going to honor him. And the other 2 nights that I think are going to be big. I'm talking huge. June 2nd, American Ethanol has come on board as a sponsor at the Adams County Speedway, along with Inogen and Growth Energy. They are going to be our new billboard sponsor, and they have hosted this event. We're going to invite every area farmer within about a 15-county area around the Adams County Speedway, and they're going to come and enjoy the night of racing there, where the late models will be there as well. So we're excited to have all those corporate sponsors that are behind that. All the implement dealers, seed people. It's going to be a huge night for that. And then, of course, the military first responder night, custom diesel driver training came on board, and they're excited along with Bud to do that. Proud to serve, honoring our military and our first responders. And then first call bell bonds, they're going to bring present the American flag from the 4 skydivers that'll come onto the Speedway. And then salute to fans. I mean, this has been a great event for a lot of area racetracks. Again, that'll be the opening night of our fair on July 7th. All the race fans and everywhere, 4 or 5 states can come and enjoy a great night of racing. And then the new thing that we did here, Dan, is we've called it the 3-wide Race of Champions. The kind of the King of the Hill thing as an announcer, it kind of got lost a little luster. The guys weren't racing for some money. And so now we went out and found a corporate sponsor, McCunn Firearms Specialties. If you're going to have a shootout, you might as well have an arms dealer and protect the Second Amendment. So we got them from Messina, Iowa. And so they are actually going to be able to shoot some 6-shooters, no bullets, just all caps in the winner's circle, kind of emulate what they do down in Texas.
It's a very good idea.
And then we're going to give those 2 6-shooters away at the banquet for the guys who qualify to be in that Race of Champions, the 3-wide shootout. Cool. And then season championship on the 8th. And then we tap it up. We're going to move to a 2-day show for the 21st annual Napa tradition, and it's also going to be the Ford Championship weekend. 3 area Ford dealers came on board, and they're going to present that Ford Championship weekend again. I'm not being too creative when I figure out what they're doing at Homestead. Why don't we do that at Corning? We've got Ford dealers, so we got the Ford Championship weekend along with the Napa jobbers.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing a fantastic job. I can tell you I'm pumped and primed. Dirk over here, he can't quit turning circles ready for the season to start.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, we even don't want to forget the little kids. We got bicycle races, the kids money grab, candy drop, back to school race car rides. I mean, Max I Walker that was the event back in the Sunset and early I-80 days. And then we're adding a new feature, 6-volt and 12-volt races around on the front stretch for the little tykes. We've even got a set of rules for it. They're going to do a 3-race series. So we're trying to entrench dirt track racing in the youth, because the youth can't drive to the racetrack. They got to bring their adults, and we get $10 for the whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge at the Adams County Speedway.
So you said that's a 6 or a 12-volt deal. So is that you bring your kid and you use a 6 or a 12-volt taser and chase them around the track, or exactly what's that entail?
I think it was at Winston they did this, Winston, Missouri, and they actually have a set of rules that you can't file off the wheels, no tire size. I mean, it was crazy what the rules were because guys were running two 12-volt batteries in there and putting them in series, and so they kind of lose the point of why we were doing it, but why they were doing it. So we're just going to have a little fun with our youth. A lot of those 3-year-olds, they really can't ride bikes down the straightaway, so this will be kind of something different to entertain the fans. And there is rumor that there might even be a swine race or a swine triathlon during the farm night, but I haven't got that one all figured out.
General admission tickets, adults just $10. Kids 7th grade to 12th grade get in for $5. 6th grade and under get in for free. You can also get your family passes, good for 2 adults, and all kids that are in the home for just $25. What a deal, Dirk.
6 years old and under, not 6th grade and under.
6th grade and under.
Yeah.
Well, if 7-year-old's not going to be in 6th grade and he's got to pay $5, so how's a 6th grader get in free?
I'm looking at one part of the website and he's looking at another part. Which one's right?
Dirk's right.
6 and under are free. Yeah.
We got to respect our elders.
There you go. I'm good for something.
I respect most elders. I got one of them that I got to keep in his place every once in a while.
And I won't break your grain bin, I promise.
Oh, hey. I mean, it's kind of just a quirky little thing, but I mean, you look at what they do at Iowa State up there at Jack Tri Stadium, and they're really big involved up there, big donors. And I just took a shot and called them, and they said, "Sure, that sounds great. We'll do it." Well, so that'll be kind of a.
I mean, if you're going to run tickets out of there, it's going to keep people dry. If you got a sprinkle going on when people are trying to get signed in and stuff, there, I can see it being a great deal.
I'm really stoked about this Hall of Fame deal. I mean, obviously we've had who's who of talent, adorn the Adams County Speedway over the years, and that'll be just fun to really take that. Tim Cooney, a longtime racer, and Roger Sorensen from R&S Collectibles is going to really spearhead that for us, and they are super pumped, and obviously having a building. So we can use that as a fan interactive. The fans can come down and take a look. We can use trivia questions out of there, and it'll be fun to see where they take that and how they showcase all the great talent that we've seen in the Midwest.
Bob Harris of Adams County Speedway, do appreciate your time, and thank you for doing all the work for me. I love it when you do that.
Hey, not a problem. We'll see you down there at the Speedway, brother.
We'll see you March 31st. Good luck. Have a great season.
All right, drop the hammer.
All right,
thanks, Bob.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4 here on the front stretch.
For almost 70 years, Sarah, Kelly Sewell have been Nebraska's premier personal injury firm. Race drivers, fans, and their families have been calling Sunset Speedway's Craig Kelly for over 30 years. The IKS firm focuses first on your healing and appropriate medical care, then they focus on getting you great results. Craig Kelly and his experienced team at IKS stand ready to handle your injury claims in both Nebraska and Iowa. If you or a loved one have been injured, Google Craig Kelly or call him at 402-391-4000.
This May, experience the suspense as heroes clash metal to metal with heartbreak. Get lost in a drama without the predictable ending. No sappy romance, no special effects. Just one adrenaline-filled night where pure speed drives the plot. Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series night race. Only at Kansas Speedway May 12th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get over to Quaker Steak and Lube today for all of the green flag action on the big screens. The action's on FS1 and MRN starting at 12:30 with the green flag set to wave at 1. That is also the time that all your picks are due. Again, today by 1 p.m. Make sure you get your picks in on time for the STP 500 and all the action on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube. Dirk, we talked last weekend with Jim Howe about the Logan Hill climb that was scheduled to be today that has been rescheduled for April 8th. So we're going to play an interview with Jim. I think it's going to be next weekend or that day of on April 8th. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to sit down with Jim and a couple of guys that were involved in organizing that Logan Hill climb. I hope that that 2-week window allows for a little bit nicer weather and I can go out and enjoy it.
Yeah, after sitting and talking to them, I mean, we got to see some video, and it's not that Jim doesn't post video on that kind of stuff every now and then, and some of it's kind of neat. And but when we talked to Gary Waddell about it, and he said, he goes, you're just trying to go from A to B like a drag strip motocross all in one thing. And I said, yeah, but sometimes you go from point A to point A. And,
you don't get very far.
That's what he said. Yeah, that's doing it the hard way. And it does sound like it'd be something to go up and do. And for you, if you get yourself a designated driver, so you can partake. And
I could probably take a weekend off, maybe one day off, because that's going to be a Friday and Saturday at I-80 Speedway. So maybe Sunday will be my day of recovery, and it will be all Gatorade and water.
Well, but then you're probably not going to want the noise blasting in your ears. But
good point.
I just hope that the weather cooperates and they do get it in after moving it back 2 weeks.
You can get more information on that. We'll post information on the Facebook page for the front stretch, and you can get all the great information on that. All right, today's race at Martinsville. You talk about an aerodynamic dependent track that was Auto Club Speedway. Now we're coming back to the East Coast. We're in Martinsville, and it's more about having a very, very stiff front and rear bumper.
Yeah, it's this track, as far as aero goes, as long as you don't get hit and have like the rear fender behind the back tire get bowed clear out so it's acting like a parachute and causing a bunch of drag, which, as far as the aero package, won't really hurt the car, but it will slow the car significantly, and which will change the handling.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not much. I remember when we did templates, we did like 4 templates on the car at Martinsville, where at a track like California Speedway there, we would do like 32 templates just on the nose.
Yeah.
So,
and this is one of those instances where a smaller car count is kind of a good thing because there is not a lot of room to move around at that track.
Well, when they throw the green flag, the guy that's in 40th place, if there is somebody in 40th, he's a half lap down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they get into lap traffic within 10 laps, and it plays such a big deal at this track. I mean, the pit road being what it is, goes 3/4 of the way around the track. It's tight. If I remember, last year they had several pit road penalties, I'm thinking, at this speedway, but I'm not absolutely positive because last year was such a terrible year for pit road penalties.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place when teams were still trying to push the limits a lot. So, yeah, it's qualifying is going to be – I forgot what I was going to say there for a second. Qualifying is going to be really important because if you have a bad qualifying lap and you start 15th to 20th, you're going to have to really worry about, even if your car is fast, not able to get around the right cars, and you may get lapped in 30, 40, 50 laps.
And qualifying is going to be so interesting because they've said they're not going to have a pre-qualifying tech, but they are going to have a post-qualifying tech that's going to work as the race tech, and they're going to impound cars. So I don't know if they're not technically going to have the happy hour after qualifying that they usually have, or exactly what they're doing there.
It'll be interesting to see what's going on. So today's race, again, all the coverage is on FS1 and MRN, starting at 12:30, and then the green flag set to wave at 1. That is also when all the picks are due. This race last year, April 2nd, for the 68th running of the STP 500, Kurt Busch was tail end Charlie finishing, Jamie McMurray finished last in 38th, Kurt Busch 37th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 34th. Denny Hamlin in 30th after leading twice for 24 laps. Ryan Blaney finished 25th, and Kevin Harvick finished 20th. Brad Keselowski ended up getting the race win, followed by Kyle Busch in second, Chase Elliott in third, Joey Logano in fourth, and Austin Dillon in fifth. A.J. Allmendinger, Clint Bowyer, Ryan Newman, Matt Kenseth, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rounded out your top 10. Looking at the race in the fall of last year, October 29th, we know what happened between Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin that resulted in Chase not getting his first Cup Series win. Instead, Chase finished 27th. Other bad days, I highlighted A.J. Allmendinger. We don't normally talk about A.J. unless it's a short track or a road course. This race last year, A.J. finished 6th, but the fall race last year, A.J. finished 40th. He was involved in an accident early on, only able to complete 94 laps. Kyle Larson finished 37th, Jamie McMurray 29th. Again, we talked about Chase Elliott, had a very fast car, but just got in the, I guess he got in the way of Denny Hamlin, and Denny was, we all know what happened there. Joey Logano finished 24th, Kurt Busch finished 22nd. Race winners for the fall race in October last year. Kyle Busch ended up getting the race win. Martin Truex Jr. finished second. Clint Bowyer third. Brad Keselowski fourth. Kevin Harvick rounded out your top 5. Trevor Bayne got a good top 10 finish. He finished in 6th. Denny Hamlin in 7th. Ryan Blaney in 8th. Matt Kenseth in 9th. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished your top 10.
So, I mean, you sit and you look at that. You got Brad Keselowski with a win and a 4th. You got Kyle Busch with a win and a 2nd. You've got Clint Bowyer with a 3rd and a 7th. You know, there was a lot of guys that like this track.
Yeah.
You know,
and this is one of those where you want to pick the experienced driver. A guy like Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Clint Bowyer shows sparks every once in a while if he's got a good machine underneath of him. I like A.J. Allmendinger. If you're worried about wasting some of your playoff heavy picks, then maybe go with an A.J. Allmendinger. But, your Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and then I really do like Chase Elliott. I think he's going to be the most popular pick today for the contest.
Yeah, he very well could be. You never know, though, since he's going to lose his car chief and stuff, exactly where he's going to end up. Mm-hmm. And again, that shouldn't be that big of an issue here at this track. He's got plenty of knowledge to lean on with Jimmy Johnson. He's got a couple of years at the track now where Jimmy Johnson's won a bunch of those clocks.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Jimmy Johnson being so good, so strong here years ago. Maybe he can continue his good run out of Auto Club and really get his feet back underneath him for the 2018 season today at Martinsville.
And I think it was in the 16th season. I don't remember which one of the 2 races, but Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch got into it actually on pit road. And then Kurt actually came back and won the race. With a car, that's it. We're done. We're junk. We're just going to, do what you can to fix it. I'll just stay out there. And then he ends up winning the race. And, it's
a car that you could see a car look a lot like a modified. They could rip the whole front of that car off. And as long as it can still reach minimum required speeds, it'll be out there running and it'll put up decent times.
Exactly. Because, again, the aero isn't that big a deal here. What is a big deal is making sure you can get cooling to your brakes. Brakes are huge here. You get the wheel hop situation.
And figuratively.
Just like you had Kyle Larson at Phoenix when he did the wheel hop thing.
Yep.
Brakes were big there. They're going to be big at Martinsville. And they've been doing this for so long that there's usually not a problem with it. But if they just miss the adjustment on them a little bit, it can really wreak havoc.
If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the rebroadcast on YouTube at 10 a.m. this morning. We'll share it on Facebook so you can get all that. Plus, there's an extended version of Turn 1 where we covered a lot of the NASCAR news and notes that we just didn't have time for today. Thank you to Joe Kosiski for joining us and previewing the I-80 Speedway schedule. And then thanks to Bob Harris of Adams County Speedway for joining us in Turn number 3 to preview the Adams County Speedway schedule. Coming up next weekend, we will recap today's race at Martinsville. Anthony Ainsley of the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series will join us to preview the 2018 schedule. I know we had Mariah and Chantel Bade scheduled for today, but we needed to flip them around a little bit, get Bob on the show so that he could preview next weekend's race weekend at Adams County Speedway. So we're going to reschedule for Mariah and Chantel Bade to join us in Turn number 3 next weekend. And then Chad Robb of FantasyRacingTips.com will join us, talk about the first 6 races of the season. I know I'm getting all crossed over my words here. Talk about the first 6 races of the season, some of the fantasy impacts that some of the comers and goers, how bad of an impact has Jimmy Johnson's struggle been on fantasy racing, that kind of stuff, and we'll get you some more news and notes all on next weekend's show. We'll do it all again next weekend. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN
Every
Radio.
race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of The Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Soon the flowers will be blooming, and we'll all be busy enjoying the beautiful Midwest spring. With the arrival of spring, we all know ridiculous summer heat is just around the corner. A simple preventative maintenance plan from Eccles Heating and Cooling can make sure you're as cool as a cucumber during the hot summer months. Call Pat today for your preventative maintenance plan or ask about a new energy-efficient Tempstar HVAC. Eccles Heating and Cooling is there for you at 402-331-1755.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.